Hey y'all, this is Skylar with Dancy Ridge Farm, and today I'm in my seed room. You can see my seed shelves, my grow lights. This is how I start all of my seeds here. I mainly do flowers, so I'm a flower farmer. And I want to talk to you today about the variety of seed starting methods that I do, and one main one in particular that I like to call either quick, fast, and easy, or the lazy way of doing it. Depends on the day, really. But I like to do, I call it the open tray method, where I just have a tray of soil and I just sprinkle seeds over the top of it. I do it this way. It's just fast to come in, sprinkle some seeds on it, pour, make sure it's watered in really well, and throw it underneath the grow light with a humidity dome. Sometimes a heat mat if it needs to be a little bit warmer to germinate, but other than that, just letting that be it, getting it done as quick as I can. I am a mom of 4, and we have a farm doing a variety of different things. I need the method of, or the path of least resistance, and this is what I have found to work best for my style. So I kind of just want to show y'all a little bit of what different varieties I mean. So this is a tray of soil blocks. I really enjoy soil blocking. The only thing that I really dislike about it is that making these blocks is time consuming. It just takes time to do it, and I don't always have that time. And then of course just sowing in trays. This is a 128 cell tray. I have some bigger ones down here. That is a 72 cell, so they're bigger. But what I mainly end up doing is just starting seeds in an open tray. There's some volunteers of some other stuff, but this is a red variety of amaranth. You can see all the babies. There's lots of them. And I will do this method and just prick them out and put them in another tray. And then they start looking really nice and uniform like this. This tray needs to be watered. But it is just a way for me to do this and to make the most of my trays. So if I get spotty germination, so I have this tray right here. This is eucalyptus. I had a couple right here that didn't germinate. And I mean, this is still good germination. I consider 80% to be good germination. Anything below that, I don't like. So you just have some dead spots. And that's fine. It's just that when you don't have a lot of space to seed a lot of things, you need to make the most of all the places on your seed shelves. So doing this method where I open the open tray, where I just seed on top and then fill in a tray, that's making the most of this one spot that's on my tray, because I don't have a lot. I just moved a lot of trays out to the greenhouse. That's why there are spots, because I have a lot more seeding to do. So I did the same thing. I did an open tray with this grass, and then I put them in their individual cells. So I will say, like the other part, it is fast and easy to just dump seeds and go, but afterwards, once they get to a certain size, you really need to be on top of moving them. Otherwise, they get a little too big, and then it's just more of a shock on the plant once their roots get really integrated together, and then you're having to part them out. Some plants don't care. Some plants are very susceptible, and they just don't like to be moved once they've set roots in. So doing them when they're really small, or just haven't gotten overcrowded in the tray yet, is usually fine. I'll show you some examples of that. So on this other side, this is sage, and I did this in an open flat, obviously. And it's really just a little bit starting to get too big for me to individually prick them out and put them in these cell trays. So even I make mistakes. These were away from the light a little bit too long, but I'll just plant them deep and they'll do just fine. But these are a little bit starting to get too big. So what I'll do is probably just let them keep growing in this tray. And then when I move them out to harden them off in the greenhouse for a couple days, and then I'll just take these and plant them straight into the ground. That's just another thing. If you have the time and capacity to move them into a cell tray, that's good. And if not, then just let them grow. The only reason, it's just going to be hard once I go to transplant these, to take a bunch out and to carefully dissect them from each other. That is going to be the hard part, and just that missed window is just going to be a little bit easier on me in the beginning, but harder on me because I didn't catch the good window to be able to transplant these into a cell tray. So they'll be fine. I'm not worried about them at all. And another thing about doing these open trays is that you have to do overhead watering. Now I'll try to water like underneath the foliage, so the water isn't beating down over the tops of it. But that's still kind of hard to do. You can tell I watered these and they have water all over them. And I mean, it's not bad for them, but they're seedlings, so they don't have a lot of strength to be able to withstand the water coming over the top. So sometimes they get kind of pushed down into the soil, and then it takes a lot of strength to pick themselves back up out of that. And also, if you let this dry out, especially when they're really tiny seedlings, and then you have to overhead water. So this is a tray I kind of messed up on. You can see some of them are recovering, but some of them, sorry, it keeps going in and out on me, the focus. Some of them, like these, are not going to survive. So you just really have to keep an eye on these trays to make sure with drying out that they're so tiny, and then you overhead water, they're already weak because they are dried out, and then overhead watering them, you are just beating them down and essentially killing them anyways. So half of this tray will be fine and half of them won't be. But you win some, you lose some. Keep going. So these are doing good. This is about the time whenever I'm wanting to go through, prick them out, put them in another cell tray. They're still really young. They're not going to care that much about being pricked out and placed in another cell tray, and their roots are not as tangled up together because they're still young. But another con to this is that you can't really, you're not really sure how much you're seeding. So if you're just sprinkling seeds over a tray, you don't want to do too thick or too thin, but also it's a little bit hard to tell how many plants that you have there. Whereas if you're seeding a 72 cell tray or a 128 cell tray, you know if you don't have but 20%, or if you had 80% germination, you have a good idea of how many plants that you have there, instead of sprinkling over and just whatever comes up and you move it to the next tray. But I don't necessarily care that much about that because I'm filling trays anyways. I'm filling up the tray so I make the most of my room on my seed shelves. So that part doesn't really bother me. But sometimes it is nice to know and have a really good calculation of what you're seeding for how much space you have to grow outside. So that is one con of it, but it's not enough of a con for me to care, I suppose, that I just keep doing it, and so far I've had pretty good results with it. Alright, all I'm doing is I'm just taking this little dibbler, I'm just going underneath some plants and grabbing them up. I'm gonna make a little hole. I'm gonna stick it over there. We're gonna shove it in, tuck it in, and keep going. Gotta be real gentle. Now I will say, I will do this a lot, especially with packets of seed that have, that I'm not really sure about their germination. Maybe it's an old seed packet that I found, one that didn't do really great for me last time I seeded it, so it's worth it to me to do the open tray method instead of pretty much knowing that I'm gonna have empty cells doing it one seed per cell. Alright, so I'm done with this tray. This is a 128 cell tray. So that's 128 plants. Every now and then 2 are stuck together and I just put them down in there. It'll be fine. I can get at least another 128 cell tray out of this. I really didn't need that many. I purposely put that much seed on here because it's probably at least 3 years old, the seed packet was. And it did well for me last year, but you just never know, so I just threw on there, and so I learned my lesson. This seed is still very good, and a lot germinated, so I will remember that in the future. But a lot of times, if it is an older seed packet, I will use this method to keep from having those empty spots in the cells. I will show you what it looks like for me to sow an open flat tray like this. Alright, so I have my flat, no cells, just a flat, just like this one that I did the amaranth in. I'm going to do this celosia. It was a seed that I collected off of a couple of celosia plants last year. They were just a really pretty pink, and I decided to save the seed. And usually I would soil block these. Y'all saw that I did. Those other celosia are in soil blocks, but for the sake of time, we are just going to sprinkle these over the top. I'm just going to sprinkle them around. Now you have to be careful to not do too much seed, because too much seed is too crowded, and it makes even transplanting them out of this tray really hard to do. This is really a lot of seed, but I have no idea if they're going to germinate, if anything about it. I don't know if I harvested at the right stage, so I'm just going to sprinkle this around. Celosia seed is so hard to see because it's black. I'm going to label it. I label all of my trays with this painter's tape. I've already watered my tray in. I'm just going to put this on and spray the seeds down with a mister spray bottle. And then I'm going to put the humidity dome and put them under the grow light. So I just put my celosia on the heat mat. It probably doesn't even need that. It's 75 degrees in here, which is a little on the warm side, but I hope that you like this video and it helped you see some different ways of seeding, and it's not all just one thing or nothing. And you can do a couple of different things like open tray or cell tray, and you can plant just about anything. It's just about doing it really and knowing what your seed requirements are. So something like celosia that needs to be a little bit warmer to germinate, I have a heat mat for it. Not all flower, vegetable, herb seed, whatever it is, not all of it has the same requirement. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I really like the open cell tray or open tray for seeding, just for the season of life that I'm in, busy mom, all the farm business, all the things, homesteading, homeschooling. It's just, when I get in here, I need to seed some stuff, and I need to do it pretty quickly so I can move on to the next thing. And just saving space in the small area that I have. And y'all probably look at this and think that it's a lot, but I'm seeding at least 6 to 10 trays every week. So I need to keep these circulating pretty good and pretty fast. So I need to make the most of the room that I have and to just get it done. So I hope that you enjoyed this and it inspires you to do the same and just get started. So I appreciate it, and please like and subscribe to this video and just keep hanging around. We'll have more videos to come.